Good morning, good people. It is 20 past 8 in the morning here in Dublin town. Since I came back from the trip, I haven't really been out much taking photographs, which annoys me, but at the same time I knew I need to kind of refresh my mind a little bit. So going out this morning, grab a few photos and gotta grab around to the bank and pharmacy quickly. As you can hear my throat. Cut the long story short, when I was young I had a chronic sinus infection. Due to that little detail, my sinuses act up once in a while, and every time they act up, all the phlegm goes down my throat. That's what it's doing now, so I have to get some Sudafed and knock it in the butt. It's been a little bit difficult to sing this weekend because of it, so I have to do something about it. But also I want to go and grab some photos, so let's make the most of this morning. Talk to you in a bit. Okay, a little bit disappointing light today. It's very grey. But here's the thing. What I find out is that when it's like really bright, sunny morning, it looks great for the light. But on the grey days, it's kind of easier to capture the colours in a different way. So, yeah. Also, the sky is pretty flat. There's no texture on it as such. So be more like little things rather than colourful little details that we're looking for, instead of like a big skylines or textures. But we'll see what we can find. I keep on coming back to the same spot in that Steam screen. Kind of hoping to take a photo I took a while back, a year and a half ago. I took it with my iPhone. And the light was amazing. I'm hoping to capture it again, but it never seems to be the same. But some purple trees I'm going to take pictures here now. See that very well. Okay, back from the walk. I know I said this before, and I'm going to say again. It's a pretty amazing feeling doing this. The first thing in the morning, getting out of bed, going out there and creating something. Plus, you know, it gets you out moving straight away, so you're gonna go for a good walk. But something about that creating, like it's not always gonna come back with the most amazing results, but it's just, at least you put the effort in, and at least you, like, I really feel like I'm kind of learning every time I go out there, so it feels great. Now, breakfast, and then I need to actually edit a vlog. Talk to you guys in a bit. Okay guys, and today's not exactly the most high-flying, exciting, packed day in the life of JP. So as we were out in the Steam screen earlier on taking those photos, so I thought I'll talk a little bit about the process. I think I talked about this before, but it kind of keeps on evolving all the time, so I talked to you a little bit more about the process of that my photographs go through and how they end up on Instagram. I'd say a good 70% of my photos I take for the sole purpose of putting them up on Instagram, because I love the platform, and it's one of those social network platforms where I've had a little bit of success. Nothing crazy, but just, it's people have seemed to like what I've done, so every time I see something like that, I usually there's a little thing in the back of my mind goes like, okay, let's see what we can do with this. Let's see what comes out of this, and I think it's important. So, how do we go from a photograph being posted on my Instagram page? These days, I'd say 95% of the photos posted on my Instagram feed are taken on the Canon 70D, which is my pride and joy and main kind of photo camera, which I also use for a lot of these videos. You look at me through this as well, especially the ones where I'm kind of sit down and talking to you guys, not on the run or anything like that. The process of actually taking the photographs is I usually look for, my ideal photo is if I take a picture of something kind of very common or very typical and I can get a different perspective on it or different angle on it. I look for colors. I look for kind of contrasts in colors that I can push to their limits. I look for textures and reflection. Water is like, I love when this water is in the photos. It kind of gives me certain kind of a quality to it. I look for, obviously, anybody on Instagram looks for the amazing sunset, but it has to be something more than just amazing sunset. There has to be texture, whether it's the clouds or anything like that. And things like composition do play a part, and you do have to keep in mind that, especially I've gotten pretty strict about posting my photos in Instagram as squares. So and not the traditional photo is not always a square, so you have to kind of think about it that way. So very often I might take a photo both ways, landscape and portrait, and then to see which one crops better to the square. Yeah, you shoot a lot and you edit down to the very, very best of them. That's kind of the general rule. I do think a lot of if I have any kind of subjects in the picture, not necessarily people, but people or anything else, I do think of the rule of thirds a lot. I usually allow for a little bit of wiggle room in the actual, when I take the photo, rather leave a little bit more space and then crop it down in the editing process. So once I have, the photo, once I've been out and taking photos, the next step is the memory card gets put into my computer, and I export the photos to a folder. I have 2 folders every month. One is the raw folder, where the photos go, everything that I take goes into that folder. I don't really edit them at all. It's just everything that's been taken on a camera goes into that folder. And then from that folder, all the photos get imported into Lightroom, which is my go-to photo editing software these days, Adobe Lightroom. It's pretty much the industry standard, but it is an amazing piece of software. Obviously there's the Photoshop, which I also use sometimes for adding text into images, and if there's major alterations to the photo, then Photoshop is your friend. But if you just in the old school way of thinking of like developing photographs, adjusting the contrast, the brightness, all the little details of it, then Lightroom is definitely your friend, and it is an amazing piece of software. I've been using Photoshop for a long time, but I only got into Lightroom kind of past year, less than a year. And I have to say it's amazing. Even in this short time, I kind of find it hard to remember what I did in the past. I put the photos into the Lightroom, where I do all my editing. I don't use any of the Instagram filters anymore. I used to use them when I was back in the old days, when I was just snapping photos with the iPhone. But these days I don't. I do all the editing in the Lightroom. Sometimes there's a kind of combination. Sometimes I do heavier editing, and sometimes I do lighter editing. It depends on the photo. It depends what I'm going after. I do like to push sometimes the colors to the limits, and I think it's a lot to do with the fact that when I see the colors, I see them a certain way. I would say I'm a quite visual person, and I try to kind of see a story in every picture, and sometimes like pushing it almost like the cinematic look is kind of what I'm going after. It's not always capturing the perfect picture as it is. Sometimes it's like adding to that little bit of story and magic into the photo. I see myself as a storyteller more than anything else, I suppose, these days. And even in the photographs, I think that's, as long as there's some sort of story in the photo, then it's a good photo. And to me, the means of storytelling, it's the result is more important than how do you get there. Now, not everybody agrees with me on this one, but that's just my way, and that's how I portray how I deal with the stuff. Once I've edited the photos the way I like them in Lightroom, we might do some stage a bit more in-depth look into Lightroom, how I do it, but right now we skip that part. Once I've done it, I export them into my second folder, which is then the Instagram monthly folder. And from that folder, I upload the photos to Dropbox. And from Dropbox, which I have also on my phone, I then download them from there back into my phone, and where I post them to Instagram. The reason I use Dropbox is that if you try to email them or message them to yourself, Apple has a tendency to try to make things as smooth as possible, and they sometimes compress stuff, and I don't want them to do that. And Dropbox doesn't compress anything. You get exactly the file in the same format that it is. Dropbox is a pretty amazing and pretty valuable tool these days, I have to say now. So yeah, that's how they get posted on Instagram. Then Instagram, there's not much
crazy magic going on there. You know, yeah, I use certain kind of tags. The tags, the way I see the tags is like you can go overboard and everything, but I use the ones that I think kind of, it's like almost introducing your stuff to the community who follow certain things, and it's kind of letting that community know that, you know, here's a photo, so that the people who really are into that community, they can go dig in and they can then find those photos. Because the truth is that it's like any other social network. You post something on Instagram, it doesn't mean that it's going to get discovered, because it's only going to go as far as your feed. Then on top of that, the tags are the ones that kind of help you reach a little bit further. So I don't see, like, I think relevant tags are very, very powerful. I sometimes see people just tag like random words, and I don't think that has much of it doesn't help as much. Also, I think a good description of the photo, nothing crazy, but you know, sometimes you can go longer, sometimes shorter, depending on what the photo needs. As long as it's relevant to the story of the photo, I think it's great, and I think it adds to the photo, and I think that's one of the beauty of the platform, that you can kind of say a little bit about your stuff. Then from there, I usually do share through Instagram in Facebook, and here's something that not everybody know about it, but quite a lot of people know about it already. So, but let me put it out here, that if you do have a Facebook page, not your personal profile, but if you have a page for whether it's your band, whether it's your photography page, whether it's your company page or whatever, it is hard to reach people in Facebook these days anymore. It's turned into very much of a paid platform. But for some reason, when you post photos from Instagram and share them from there to Facebook, they seem to have a lot more reach, as long as the good pictures are good quality. But if the good quality pictures, they seem to have a lot more reach. Visual stuff seems to work really, really well. I used to share to Twitter the same way, but what turned out to happen was that Twitter only shared then the link back to Instagram. Now I use a website called ifttt.com. What it does is, it's basically, if it's translated to something like if this then that. What it means is that you do an action, and it recognizes the action, and it does something that you have told it to do. So what it does, it takes the picture from my Instagram feed then, and it posts it also to Twitter as a Twitter picture. So the people on Twitter can see the picture without having to go back to Instagram, but the link to Instagram is there as well. So I did find that I have a little bit more engagement in Twitter with the photos that way. And I don't like the idea that you have to enjoy one platform, you have to go to another platform. And, you know, I think the love need to be shared equally. So that way all those three platforms get the same picture. The link is to back to Instagram, but all of them get the same picture. So that's the basic process of posting a photograph on Instagram, and what I usually use for most of my photos. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. One more thing I will say, that I do post once a week. When the new song comes out, I post a picture of the cover image, and that's pretty much the only what I would call a promotional post, which has the web address is written in the description, so you have to copy and paste it to go and see the song. And this is down back to the rule that, you know, I think it's 80-20 rule usually be that, you know, 20% of the time promote your own stuff and 80% of the time do something completely different. And people seem to enjoy my photos, so I try to put more of those out, and then once a week there's the link to the music, back to the music, which I think is a really nice balance. And it gives the people the option, like, you know, if you don't care about the music, then don't. You can just enjoy the photos as well. I'm more than happy to just share them as well. So there you go. That's my Instagram process. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I just thought I talk about this because it hasn't been a very exciting day in the sense of it's a lot of office work once again. So hopefully you get something out of that, and I shall talk to you guys in a bit. Once again, kicking the productivity in the backside. And I've got cough. Might have to get some medicine. I've got 2.5 vlogs done today, and the third one is pretty much done. The only thing that has to be done to it, I need to put music into it. But 2 have been uploaded and set up already, so
I think with another hour's work, I'll have a next 3 days vlog sorted. Which, when I manage to do that, it gives me more time to work on the song of the week, a bit more, less stressful about that. But now I'm heading to the porterhouse, where I'm playing the session this afternoon. Should be good. Let's do this. As usual, I'm running late. I'd like to tell you how life used to be tough. No, I don't think it's changed that much. You still work to the bone, or just to make the cut. You do your best to give it all you got. I'd like to tell you how life used to be tough. No, I don't think it's changed that much. You still work to the bone, or just to make the cut. And you do your best to give it all you got. Give it all you got.